Just making sure.
It's happening. It's happening. It's happening. It's happening.
Royals.
Oh my God, they snapped the pic of the cover sheet. The grand jury vote is coming in now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, don't worry. Indictments are dropping. Let's see. Is there a live? I want to see if there's a live broadcast of the indictments. Should we go to Fox News straight up directly?
This is live before the grand jury to tell what they have to say. And if the document that was released accidentally earlier today gives us anything to expect, RICO and racketeering is going to be the centerpiece of this indictment. It's going to look a lot like the
We'll get
one
back
out
to
of
Beauty and the
DC
Geek in a
because
second.
It's going to be focused on the efforts of Donald Trump and probably others on overturning the results of the 2020 election. I do expect that it will be Donald Trump, but I also expect some other big names will probably be indicted by this grand jury, maybe on a separate indictment.
Oh, they're
maybe
filming
tomorrow,
all right,
but we do
baby.
think
It's
this
Georgia.
particular
This ain't no
indictment
federal
is
court.
imminent. The judge who would be receiving the document in open court, he's staying open late. The courthouse is usually not this busy.
I'll wear my
of course.
suit tomorrow.
Right. I do believe it's because the grand jury is voting, and we should hear something very soon.
Phil, I want to get to those charges that were mistakenly put on the website.
He's being sentenced to death.
Reporting on it. But I don't know if you can see this, but in the upper
Yeah, they're
right-hand
putting him
corner
down,
of the screen,
chat.
There's a live shot inside the courthouse. What would we be looking at there? Is that press waiting to get an announcement from the judge based on the voting of the grand jury? What are our viewers looking at there?
Yeah, so what happens is after the grand jury returns a true bill of indictment, the grand jury bailiff takes physical custody of the document and has to present it to the presiding judge, in this case, Judge Robert McBurney. And he's staying open late. He doesn't normally do that unless there's a very good reason. So that in and of itself is very telling. If for some reason the grand jury does not reach a conclusion tonight, presumably they would return tomorrow. If they return a bill of indictment and the courthouse is closed, then the bailiff will have to take custody of that document until the courthouse reopens. But there are media in every branch of the courthouse. They're in the courtroom, they're in the halls. The document itself, when it's returned in open court, we are told Judge McBurney will allow that to be televised, and so we'll see video and have pictures.
Latest
of it. Then,
update from
there's
inside.
going to be
Fulton
press
Sheriff
the district attorney,
Pat
no doubt,
Laban
will hold the
just
press.
walked
What
in the
we
courtroom
don't
along
know
with 3 other
is whether
deputies
the
are
judge is going
standing
to
along the wall,
arrest
and
warrant
they're still waiting for
any
someone from the DA's
indictment.
office to
He has
arrive.
the option to do that, or he has the option to simply set a court date for the former president to appear, probably something similar to what we saw happening in Manhattan with DA Bragg.
A lot there. Real quick, Phil, the 39 counts you saw included serious felony charges. What kind of time come along with the charges this grand jury and this prosecutor are bringing?
Do they add witness
Well, if that
tampering?
document is
You think they? If I was hitting a fucking 39 counts. Wait, it's already out. What the fuck? No, it's not.
the actual indictment that we may see tonight.
Staggering. The state of our republic laid bare in front of us. Phil Holloway.
If there was anything that I would do
a spokesperson and general counsel for Trump.
If there was anything I would currently do run a gamba on, I would run a gamba on the top of the hour ad break. If we are going to gamba on anything, all jokes aside, I would gamba on whether or not witness tampering will be added to the indictment. I do not know if they work fast enough to like add stuff like that, because that just happened, right? It's too recent. I don't know. What if they fucking did though? No shot. They would have had to. I guess they had it in front of the grand jury. Who knows? Very confused. MB, thank you for the 10 gift subs, allowing 10 people to no longer see ads at the top of the hour. Here's a 3-minute ad right now.
Spoken about that. It's a ploy. It's election interference, and it's political lawfare. And I'm frankly just sick of it. It needs to end. This country cannot take it anymore.
Alina, as you're speaking on our screen, it appears paperwork is being walked from wherever the grand jury was convening and deciding over to the judge in the courtroom, presumably a clerk, into that courtroom, at which point the judge can decide to read it aloud, and our viewers may be able to see it as well. What do you expect, Alina?
I think we know what we expect because they leaked it by accident because some clerk accidentally filed it a few hours ago. There's going to be counts. It's going to be RICO. We all know what it is because we have a leaky AG, prosecutor, and DAs in this country. This is ridiculous. So the cameras are even watching this right now, frankly.
Wait,
it's
what?
Unprofessional. It's
Why would
unethical.
that be ridiculous? What do you mean? This is one, a historic moment, and two, sucks to suck. Maybe your client shouldn't have gotten fucking indicted in a state court where they don't have any kind of restrictions on filming.
It is part of the show. This is a show. It's a political show.
I hate
can do
transparency,
TV too.
she says.
It is
I
not
wonder
okay
why.
what you are doing. This is unacceptable. The fact that we have cameras and press sitting there, but I have not seen the indictment as his general counsel for Save America. I have no indictment yet in front of me. How is that possible, and how is that okay?
When do you expect to see one? Will you find out when the rest of us do?
You know when I'll see it? When the New York Times or you guys.
Dude, this is how you know. This is how you know they're cooked. When they're like getting mad about completely erroneous, stupid, irrelevant shit. It's like, wow, it seems like the temperature is really low in the courtroom too. What are they hiding? It's like, dude, you're so cooked. You're so fucking cooked.
Wake yet? I don't really know what it's going to take for
She
you.
said, I can't believe there's court reporters. Like, what the fuck do you mean? It's again, state court. Sucks to suck. Don't do a fucking crime in a state court.
Corner of your screen. What's the legal strategy here? How do you deal with this and four? I mean, it's historic. It's unprecedented. They're throwing the kitchen sink at their top political opponent right before an election. How do you manage all of that?
You manage it with the facts, which is the one thing that these grand juries do not have. The grand juries have select one-sided information, and they're always selected in states that are incredibly blue and incredibly anti-Trump.
Wait, Georgia? What do you mean? Georgia?
And that is it. I've said it time and time again, and we're watching it. I cannot say that what I'm watching right now, as
Bro, have you
as
seen
everyone, all the viewers
Georgia?
are watching. This is not
Yo,
America.
you know what's funny?
We're not.
These fucking assholes are literally about to be like, or Florida. These assholes are literally like, honestly, the only time a Republican can ever get a fair trial is if they're doing it in like the reddest district in Alabama, okay? That is like more cows than people. That's it. No other place can my big, beautiful, bold president get a fucking fair trial.
Let's go back down to Atlanta, where national correspondent Matt Finn is outside the Fulton County Courthouse. Matt, I presume you're seeing these images.
Yeah, by the way, it's not even a joke. They requested West Virginia.
One second. Okay, just making sure.
It's happening. It's happening. It's happening. It's happening.
Mr. Royals, everything went as it should have in front of the grand jury? Yes, sir. All right. Ms. Alexander, you're prepared to take this? I guess I'm delivering it to the clerk. You'll maintain custody of it from here?
Yes, sir.
All right. Those are for you. Do you take the certification, or does it go with Madam Clerk? All right. Thank you all. Yes, you too.
I just spat out my gum in excitement.
All right, you guys, make way.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. You're so lived up, dude. I am Jeff Tetrick on this moment, on this day.
Good luck the rest of the evening.
I am Seth Abramson. I am Blue Anon.
That's it. Was it all you hoped?
I am Rachel Maddow.
Can you tell us what it says?
I did get a good look. So, you all need to leave? I mean that politely and nicely. You've had a long day, but these folks can't go until you all go. I know we had talked about leaving the equipment here. Don't leave the equipment here because you're not going to want to be here tomorrow. You're welcome to be here if you don't have a Rule 22 for what's going on tomorrow. It's just good old trial stuff.
Okay, so there's still a little bit of mystery as the papers you saw, that packet of papers that the judge evidently signed and then handed back to the clerk.
What is going on?
Exactly what those papers say, whether they are the indictments that everyone has been anticipating, remains to be seen. We do know that the court is going to make these statements in the indictment.
What the fuck?
Whatever it is on their website.
Related to the 2020 election as well as others. Source telling me tonight that the case has been voted on all throughout the late night tonight. Little unusual hours. Earlier today, prosecutors apparently so excited to indict the former president. They actually accidentally posted charges online this morning before the grand jury rendered a decision. We're not sure if the judge is going to read that decision. We're going to listen in as indicated. All indications are the leak came out this afternoon and could have been the DA jumping the gun. Let's listen.
Can you tell us what it says?
I did get a good look. So, you all need to leave? I mean that politely and nicely. You've had a long day, but these folks can't go until you all go. I know we had talked about leaving the equipment here.
From New York Times, papers from a grand jury have been delivered to the desk of Robert C.I. McBurney of Fulton County Superior Court by an entourage of court officials and sheriff's deputies. While the judge, as expected, did not indicate the nature of the papers, they are believed to include an indictment related to the investigation of the election interference by Donald J. Trump and his allies in Georgia. So, why haven't they read it out? The cover sheet. Oh my God, they snapped a pic of the cover sheet. There were 10 indictments. He did everything right and they indicted him 10 times. What is happening? What's going on?
Grand jury arguing why they should vote essentially yes or true bill on the various counts, on the various criminal charges. And they will basically look or have looked through each one individually, and then they come up with a vote, no bill or true bill. So, for instance, if there is a RICO charge, then which of course is a possibility, then the grand jury votes on whether they believe there is a probable cause to support a...
There's no fanfare around this. Like, you're not going to read it out loud. You know what I mean? You're not going to do a dramatic pause. You're not going to serve a top of the hour ad break. What the fuck? That's bullshit.
That is that the standard of proof.
That's bullshit.
Proof under the law to issue an indictment is much lower.
It's 9 p.m. That's what's going on. Yeah, but we waited for it. You know what I mean? Give us the goods.
You know, if
give us the fucking juice, man.
During a trial and so forth, it has to be proven beyond a reasonable
I already ran
doubt
the
that
ad
that
break.
person
I'm not
is
going to run it
guilty of any
again.
given count. But when it comes to an indictment, the burden of proof under the law is something a lot lower. Again, something we refer to as probable cause. That's similar to what is used by police to justify an arrest, and it basically means
it's a normal ass court, not Fox and Friends. Yeah, that's bullshit.
This grand jury has only heard one
Listen,
side.
chatter. This is the United States of America, okay? You keep that normal process bullshit in fucking England, okay? Except they wear wigs there, so even they love their fanfare. Don't give me this nonsense. We want fucking drama, okay? This is the goddamn television president being indicted in broad daylight on fucking camera. Give me a fucking break, dude. Nobody wants to work anymore. Exactly. Not the judges, not the jury, nobody. They should do it on judge jury. Yes. Absolutely yes. I agree. This is not a normal court. This is a set-up court with a fake jury to get the beautiful president. Exactly. And we should see it. Oh, that's funny. All right, what are these fucking guys saying? Oh, Ted Cruz.
Well, Sean, it certainly appears that we're going to see an indictment from the grand jury in Georgia that may well be coming out tonight. It could come within the next hour, and I don't know what's going to be in it. There are lots of rumors. There are allegations of RICO charges. We don't know what's in it, but you asked what my reaction is. I'm
Trigger
pissed.
warning, Ted Cruz.
I'm pissed at these over and over and over again. If there are indictments tonight, it'll be the fourth indictment of Donald Trump. This is disgraceful. Our country is over 200 years old. We have never once indicted a former president or a candidate and a leading candidate.
Yeah, dog. What's disgraceful is like his behavior, not that like the legal process works.
Afraid of the voters. This is disgraceful. It is wrong, and it is an abuse of power.
He's like, it's disgraceful that my president is being indicted. It's fucked up.
Matter to them anymore.
Let me ask you, Senator, and so many Americans feel this way, and we're watching Jim Jordan's House Judiciary Committee on this, on a weekly basis, and their key investigation is whether or not our FBI is been politicized and weaponized, whether the DOJ has been politicized and weaponized. I think we need to put emphasis on what you just said. Never in our long history as a country has this ever happened to a former president, nor has it happened to the chief rival of a sitting president running for president. And yet they not only want these indictments, this now would be the fourth time history has been made.
Yeah. Everything he's saying implies he should be mad at Trump, not the other way around. Make it make sense. Yeah, well, I will make it make sense for you. He's a cuck.
Of course it is, and the timing is nakedly political. Every time more bad news comes out about Hunter Biden or Joe Biden, you can set a stopwatch. Within hours, some clown goes and indicts Donald Trump again, and then all of the little lemmings in the media go run and say Trump, 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 Trump. Look, last week, the House Oversight Committee released bank records that showed that Joe Biden's family and associates received over $20 million from foreign sources while Joe Biden was vice president. So just when he's in office, over $20 million. Let me ask you, is there anything on earth, Sean, that Hunter Biden could do for you that would be worth $20 million? Well, if you're a Ukrainian oligarch or a Russian oligarch, I guess so. And if you actually go just after the vice presidency, Hunter and his family got another $8 million.
Dude, if we tie this back to Hunter Biden is responsible for Ukraine, I'm going to lose my mind. It's going to be so sick.
Ran on the $8 million that flooded to the Biden family from the Chinese communists. You know who let it run? David Weiss, the U.S. attorney who is obstructing justice, who is blocking an investigation. And what did Merrick...
Isn't David Weiss literally a Trump appointee? I don't get it. Like, he's from the Trump era. Is he not?
Podcast every week, Verdict with Ted Cruz. Today's podcast goes through why David Weiss's appointment is illegal. It is directly contrary to DOJ guidelines that say that it has to be someone outside of the Department of Justice. Merrick Garland doesn't care. He's ignoring the law. But more importantly, it's supposed to be someone with integrity to prosecute, and David Weiss has shown that he's willing to block prosecution of Hunter, to allow the statute of limitations to go forward, and to allow apparatchiks on his staff to protect Joe Biden, to say, no questions about the big guy, no questions about Joe Biden. It's why you've seen two senior IRS career whistleblowers come forward. And it's why I believe we're seeing an indictment likely tonight, because the media wants to change the topic.
I have a couple more questions, Senator. I just want to bring people up to speed at home. The Fulton County District Attorney's Office has now handed a grand jury indictment to Judge Robert McBurney. As we saw just moments ago, the judge looked through the multi-page document, handing it off to the clerk's office representative. We do expect that now that the grand jury has handed up this sealed indictment, we will find out what is in it some point tonight. One other point about Mr. Weiss, who's now been, remember, he was the one that gave Hunter Biden the sweetheart deal, Senator, and it was the sweetheart of all sweetheart deals.
Yep.
And it was a get out of jail free on anything else that he might have done. You mentioned the statute of limitations. We had already known that on previous charges. We also heard from whistleblowers that were accusing both David Weiss and the Attorney General of telling a very different story about the real authority that Mr. Weiss had, whether or not he had authority in other jurisdictions. It turned out that, in fact, he was telling the IRS whistleblowers that he was telling them he did not have that authority.
Okay, this is crazy. They just straight up said, no Hunter, though. Like, that's crazy. What is happening? Brother, a former U.S. president is being indicted for the fourth time. This is actually, like, you in the audience, if you're like a Fox News watcher, you should be mad that, like, they're not at least, like, talking about it. Like, I'm fine with you shitting on the judge. Say that the judge is gay. Say Hunter Biden fucked the judge. Like, I don't know, but just like keep on message with the situation at hand. Like, what do you mean? This ain't a fucking Twitch debate. You can't just be like, Hasan bad, and then move on. The fuck? This is the most popular news network in the goddamn country. What is happening? It's history in the making.
And bribery is explicitly enumerated in the Constitution as a basis for impeachment. And instead of this circus and sideshow of indictment after indictment after indictment of Donald Trump, I believe the House of Representatives needs to move forward with an impeachment inquiry for Joe Biden. And if it's proven that he accepted a bribe, he should be impeached. He should be removed from office. He should be.
I agree, but like talk about that every other hour like you do. Like this is Trump's moment. This is kind of weird that they're robbing him of the spotlight a little.
Then if I had to render a guess, one has to wonder if Rudy Giuliani's name would be in there, or Sidney Powell's name would be in there, or John Eastman's name would be in there. Again, I'm only guessing, but if I had to give a educated guess, I would say those are the obvious. Your thoughts?
Yeah, look, the one that is obvious that it's going to be is Donald J. Trump, because it is clear that this prosecutor went in with an objective to indict Donald Trump. It's the same thing as Alvin Bragg, the wild George Soros partisan in New York. It's the same thing as Merrick Garland and Jack Smith. And by the way, Jack Smith has a history of bringing partisan indictments. He indicted Bob McDonnell, the sitting governor of Virginia, when he was a credible candidate for president. He got a conviction, and that conviction went to the U.S. Supreme Court, and it got unanimously thrown out. But the conviction was all about politics. What they want to do is they want a trial to attack Donald Trump. They'd like a trial in September or October of next year, right before the election. The other 10 people, I'm not going to speculate, or the other 9, we'll find out. But frankly, there were 9 people who were unlucky enough to be standing somewhere in or around Donald Trump. Their target is political. This is not the rule of law. This is not
Yeah, famously, the presidential administration structure does not have like the makings of an organization that you could technically RICO, because there's a head of state, let's say, like a head of the unit that's giving out orders to other people. You know what I mean?
Years of the disaster that is Joe Biden, and so they want to abuse the justice.
Motherfucker, we're talking about a DA that hit a RICO charge on a goddamn music label, okay? Like a record label. One, if she could do that to fucking YSL, she could definitely do that to the presidency, because, you know, pretty out and about over there, the power structure.
Law professor and Fox News contributor, Jonathan, we're reading, we now have multiple sources telling us that there are 10 indictments named here. Again, an educated guess. I think we know the names. Certainly at the top of the list would be President Donald J. Trump. This would now be his 4th indictment. One big difference that we would see in this case, probably versus the other 3 previous indictments, would be Georgia Sunshine Law's likelihood of this being on television is probably great. Will that be impactful to the American people more so than the other cases?
Yeah.
Well, it will be. The other big distinction is that
pay attention to current news.
cases
There's
brought
no
by
more
Jack
current
Smith
news than this one, man.
are subject to presidential pardon, including the possibility of a self-pardon by Donald Trump if he's reelected. The New York and Georgia cases are not subject to federal pardon authority.
Bro, they're talking about it. They're talking about the things I was saying.
The suggestion is that there are not just 10 indictments, but that it's based on RICO. And that's a favorite tool of this particular prosecutor. It requires a pattern to be shown, usually of fraud, that ties these people together. This is a lot of indictments, obviously, if you've got 10 defendants.
Austin is furiously texting me right now. I'm going to read it. Ted Cruz is such a fucking cuck. Trump took a dump on his wife on national TV, and he's here on Fox inhaling his cock and balls.
You can show strong linkages on a case of this kind. You don't want it to look like you're charging everyone and letting God sort them out. And so we have to see what evidence they actually turned up. One of the most concerning aspects about this particular investigation, and there's a number of them, is that it began after the disclosure of the call of Donald Trump to Georgia election officials. That call has been widely misrepresented, in my view.
Stop.
In the call,
Stop.
President Trump at the time
He did everything right.
said you only need to find around 11,000 votes. And that has been taken as an invitation for fraud.
What? That is what it
There
is.
Of course, a more obvious explanation, and that is the Georgia officials were saying that further state recounts might not be necessary. And it would be natural for Trump to say, look, you only need to find 11,000 to turn the outcome of this election. So I don't need that many votes. Thus, a state recount is justified. Now, either of those interpretations can be believed by citizens, but you usually...
Bro, you literally just described the fraud in broad daylight and just simply restated it and said, well, that's not fraud. It's just, he's just informing the guy. Yeah, to do what?
In other words, could there be multiple people, or would that number 10 be the number of people?
Look at his face while he's saying
it's
that.
hard to say, because in the vernacular that people use, it could be individual defendants. It does not appear to be a reference to the accounts. There's been...
Dog, he gave the exact number and then followed up and said, one more than we have right now. Like, that's 11,780 votes that we need to find. That's the exact number that he said. You can't, like, that's insane. He said, find it. That's crazy. It's the exact number that he lost to Biden by +1.
Someone, and she now may be one of these defendants, gave them access to machines in Coffee County. That has been alleged to be a breach of security of that machine. It was after the election, but the machines were still being controlled, obviously, by the election officials. The problem with that is that the emails that we've read to the Trump team say that...
No, the funniest part about it is that, like, the second thing that he says after in the perfect phone call is even better, because he says 11,780 more than we have right now. Like, as in, like, I'm admitting that Joe Biden is beating us by that many votes, so I need that many votes +1 so I can beat him. Find those votes. It's just, even if he had spitballed, even if he had rounded up, why didn't he say 12,000? Because if he had said 12,000 votes, for example, there's at least like an argument to be made. Like, we need like 12,000 votes. Like, I mean, it's still fucking ridiculous. It's still fraud. But like, you have no argument there. It was quite literally a perfect phone call in the sense that it was like a perfect demonstration of fraud.
They rushed in witnesses late tonight just to do it. That's exactly what they did. It's election interference. They're worried, and Fannie, you know, she's been planning this for some time. We saw the barricades go up in Georgia.
I can't see Tommy Lauren's subtweets because I'm
but even
blocked
the
by her.
attorneys, you know, to go back to your first question, Sean, the attorneys in this mess, the attorneys that are dealing with these bogus claims themselves have not been given notice, and that is how they're behaving. It's very unfortunate. It's unprofessional. I've never seen anything like it.
All right, Alina, I understand you're going to stand by and wait till we get full reaction. Thank you for being with us. We have also Senator Ted Cruz, Professor Jonathan Turley. For more on these indictments, we also now bring in Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett, former acting AG Matt Whitaker, Harvard Law professor. I guess Harvard Law professor. Is he there or no? Okay, let's go to Greg and start with your analysis. You know, Ted Cruz brought up something very deep and very profound, and that is
did I miss it? Did he say the Dersh?
Nor has it ever happened one time to a leading candidate to challenge the sitting president. and he's leading by a large margin in terms of percentage of vote at this moment right now. And seemingly, you know, when you look at now the 3 prior indictments, arraignments, and the expected one when we get this read at some point soon, that this is going to be number 4, and that these trials may actually take place during the time of caucuses and primaries, you know, basically consuming the entire next half a year of 2024 of Donald Trump. Your reaction to that?
Well, I think the focus should be on the reaction of the American public. Every time there's one of these indictments against Trump, his fundraising goes up and his poll numbers rise. Why is
I love that. This is good, actually. Cope is my favorite.
Realizes the truth of what's going on. That this is, as Senator Cruz pointed out, an effort by Joe Biden.
Sean, it's actually really good that my presidential candidate has been shot in the head. Many people don't understand that, but it's actually really, really solid. You don't understand. Every time a candidate has been shot and survived, well, you know, their poll numbers have gone up, as a matter of fact. Are you saying that he won't survive this shot in the head? Well, it doesn't matter. Could be great. Could be great for him. Yes, Donald Trump will have his mugshot taken when he's arrested in Fulton County.
Doesn't matter your status. We have mugshots ready. We are following our normal practices, and so it doesn't matter your status. We have mugshots ready for you.
Dude, I am so Law and Order. I love Law and Order.